Hey YouTube, it's me, Jerry at Horrible Subs, and I might as well make a vlog about something that's really a big passion of mine, and that'd be anime. And in this world of anime, there are these two names that keep coming up all the time if you know it, if you watch it, or you're just familiar with it. And these two names would definitely be connected to this guy named Shinichiro Watanabe, who directed both of these. And that would be Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. And the reason I feel like these two animes have just been popular ever since their release, even a decade after, is probably because of the way that they're able to execute being unique and helping to be entertaining to a new audience no matter what, without using these tropes and more like creating their own tropes. And the first point that I want to make with this is their approach to storytelling. Because unlike a lot of other animes, which try to have a central plot and run it through with a rising action, a climax, and with a protagonist and antagonist on one side and the other trying to hit, instead, we have a snapshot-like way of piecing the story together. Of course, the story has a direction, like in Cowboy Bebop, these guys are trying to go around the solar system. They're trying to survive, even though all of their bounties end up dying or something happens. While Samurai Champloo, where this group is trying to find the samurai who smells of sunflowers. But there's not just a straight chase to it. They're not just gonna head and run right towards the objective, because that's not how the way he structures the episodes. Instead, he has each episode stand by itself. So you could really go and look at one episode and not get the other one, because each is a mini experience in all of the characters. And I feel like this is actually really well done in the way that he was able to put this forward, because when you go ahead and you have a story, but this story isn't tied to a plot that you have to follow and you have to pay attention to, now the creativity is there to just have the characters interact with the world however you want, and it's really up to you what they're gonna say in there, how they're gonna say it, what they're gonna do, why they're gonna do it. And I say, some people could look at this and say, oh, that's just lazy. That's just gonna go ahead and say he can do whatever he wants and not really come back to the story. But I don't think that's true, because each episode does relate to the plot itself. It just doesn't have to relate back to it directly and come back and mention it every single episode. Because there is an end goal. It's just that in each episode, it gets a little bit closer to it. It doesn't have to run straight towards it. It's a great analogy for life as well, because as each episode shows you a snapshot, it's the same person dealing with the same world. It's not like they're actually going to run through and get to the end, because you have to think about it here. In your life, could you honestly think that every single day that you've had before and probably beyond connects to a central conflict or a central goal that you're trying to get to? Chances are, probably not. You're probably not trying to get every day towards something in every single moment, but there is a big macro sense end goal to it. And that's why I feel like it's cool to the story. My second point would probably be the colorful characters are in both animes. Because we always have our typical group of atypicals, the misfits. And it's pretty entertaining, it's pretty funny to see all of them try to get along with each other and try to basically get things done, even though they're running over each other's feet, metaphorically and maybe sometimes literally. But they'll still try to cooperate and they'll still try to get along when there's a bigger threat ahead of them, or there's something that they really have to take care of because it's something in their past. And it's great because this group really does reflect the great amount of diversity that we have in humans, in the way we think, in the way we come from, and what's our story. For example, in Cowboy Bebop, we've got our four main characters that pretty much show up almost every episode of the anime. And that would be Spike Spiegel, Jet Black, Edward, and Faye Valentine. And the reason these four are so interesting is because they all add their own little spin to the group, but at the same time, they're all still the same, which which I feel like is pretty damn cool, because we have Spike Spiegel to start off with he's a goddamn reflex machine. Pretty much with a pistol with his fist, he can take down anyone. But at the same time, he's not that person to just go ahead and pick up fights only when he wants to. But he really is a thinker in himself as well because of his past and what's happened. And he really does look at everything with a critical point of view, critical point of mind. Then we have Jet Black, who's pretty much the sage to Spike, and he's pretty much the friend that'll pick him up if he's fallen down, if he's tripped, because he's seen the stuff that Spike's seen as well, and he understands where he's coming from. But at the same time, he's still that not strict but kind of firm friend. So just let him know where he stands and make sure that he's there in all 100%. And we have Faye Valentine, which is pretty much the femme fatale, and she's pretty smart herself. It's just that she's very rash. She's very brash. She's very up to the point, I guess. And if she wants something, she'll try to have it. And if she doesn't have it, she'll let you know that she's not happy with that fact. And then we have Ed, who's pretty much that laid-back, chill, almost savant-like in her skill with computers and machines, which is pretty cool. But she's still entertaining, and you can still see the childlike aspect of her. You know, these characters, they're pretty cool. And they're not the only ones, too, that have that type of interest. In each episode, in both Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop, there's usually another character that they introduce just for the episode. And it's pretty cool because in that episode, they're introduced and they're fleshed out, and they're still there, and they're still a human being interacting with these people. And it's still cool to see. It's still cool to see that. It's like how you meet a person on the street and you really do realize that you connect with this person. Make sure, 5 minutes ago, you guys didn't even know each other's names, but now you guys talking about what you guys really both like a sports team or anime, just like that. And the first example I'd like to use, which is one of my favorites that they met, was, he's not even human. It was actually episode 6 of Cowboy Bebop, I think, where they actually picked up Ed. It was the satellite. And this satellite was basically drawing field Naztec lines into the earth, and they had to search up why, and they're gonna get a bounty for it, Spike and Jet. But what ended up happening was they realized that the satellite was doing it because he was bored, and he was lonely, and he wanted companions. And it was cool because Ed actually was able to meet up with the satellite and was actually able to make friends with the satellite. It was cool just seeing how this robot that was lonely for so long have a friend and be able to interact with him. It sucks in the end that the satellite had to go offline, but it's cool to see how this one character was able to be introduced to the story, introduced to these characters, and they go ahead and they have their interaction to reflect a little more on maybe their characters' colors, the way that they think. And Samurai Champloo, this is my favorite. It was in episode 6 of that anime as well. It was the Dutch foreigner that somehow was able to roam free inside Edo period Japan, which was a big no-no back then. And he ends up being, I think, the world's first weeaboo. I'm pretty sure Samurai Champloo called this. And he basically meets the crew, Jin, Yugi, and Fu, and he takes their swords because that's what they had to pull in for a 3D contest. He ended up winning that, and he had both their swords. So now Mugen, Jin, and Fu have to play tour guide to this guy in order for him to give the sword back. And it's not like he's being a douche about it, it's just funny to see how he was actually going to Japan. And he was just trying to speak the language ever so messed up, but he was trying, and he really was showing interest in the culture. And it really is cool to see how this other character was just, innocent. He was innocent in his intentions, and he just wanted to see the country for what it was. And that episode really was pretty cool for me. And he was gay as well. It's pretty damn cool, pretty progressive for his time. They had a little bit more of a dark story behind them. Like Jin's, I'd say probably only romantic interest in one of the episodes, where she was basically a hooker because her husband was unable to pay debts off and Jin met her. And it was really, I guess, heartwarming to me at the same time to see Jin, who's usually a very, very calm, he's a very reserved guy, help calm this person down or help comfort this person, because when they first meet, she's trying to commit suicide, but Jin helps and tells her not to, and he ends up meeting with her and they keep talking, and he ends up actually saving her from this life, and then ends up letting her go. But seeing how this interaction between these two humans was dark but at the same time hopeful, because they saw the situation that they're in, but they wanted to get out of it, just like how a lot of people right now want to. So they work as hard as they can to get out of it, which is what I see was cool, because all the characters have a little slice of humanity in them. Whether they've been hilarious, whether they've been really wacky and zany, or they've just been really tragic, or there's just a lot of sorrow in their life, or these characters are just straight up, unlikable. It's just like humans. Some are weird, some are really funny, some that you don't like, and others that you want to keep close to you as well. The last and probably the most strongest point is that in both animes, the action direction, the way the fighting is done, is really well done. Almost like you had Hollywood level choreographers come in and probably teach people, even though it's all in drawing. For example, in Cowboy Bebop, you have Spike, and the way that he fights, it's a direct inspiration from Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do. The way that his stance, the way that he holds his hands. He even has a reference when teaching someone else how to fight like him to Bruce Lee's "be like water" quote. And in Samurai Champloo, it's cool how he's able to take the hip-hop motif and apply it even to the fight with Mugen, because the way that he moves his legs, the way that he moves around and kicks, he always adds instant of a hip-hop move along with it. And with Jin, it's cool to see how this guy has been trained for years in the way of the sword, and he's able to basically become this killing machine, because as soon as he draws his katana, things are gonna die. Things are gonna get cut up. Well, I think that all these 4 points basically is what the anime had and what it was able to excel at, and why it's able to be talked about so long. Decades later, people still talk about it, and it still stays relevant today because of the way the execution is done. And for that, that's pretty damn good. Before we're done, make sure to like and subscribe and share this video with your friends if you thought that this was pretty damn cool and entertaining, or actually brought up some good points. Now, you guys can hear that. Looks like it's the sound of a battle cry. See ya.